Hi, everyone. I'm Peter Stein, Senior Programmer of Frameline, and welcome to our Q&A for the wonderful Taiwanese feature, The Teacher. We are so thrilled to be joined by a whole group of cast and crew from the team joining us from Taiwan. We're going to hope that the technology is kind to us. First, let me welcome the writer and director of the film, Ming Lang Chen. Hi, Ming. Are you with us?
Hello, hi Peter, hi
Hi,
everybody.
it's great to have you here. And also, we'll be coming to them soon, but I want to give you a sneak preview. We have a whole team with us. Also joining us from Taiwan, please welcome two of our lead actors, Oscar Chiu, who plays Kevin on there on the right. Next to him is Winnie Chang, who plays Gao's wife. We have producer Jing Yao. Hi, Jing. And very kindly, the team from Swallow Wings, the distributor, that's Wayne and Albert. Wayne is in the middle in the back, and Albert on the right, who are going to be helping with some translation. But let me first go to Ming, since Ming, you are the one who told this story. Tell me, what were the origins of the story that you wanted to tell about Kevin the teacher and Gao, his married boyfriend? What inspired the story first?
Initially I wanted to tell a rather violent story of a serodiscordant relationship, especially about the younger LGBT generation in Taiwan who grew up after the end of national martial law in 1987. Nowadays, the environment is totally different than 30 years ago when the LGBT identity was heavily stigmatized. And after further research, I got more interested in trying to find out, even though Taiwan has been gradually marching toward LGBT equality, but on a personal level for young person, while searching for love and searching for one's own identity, what is the landscape of it? And on the other hand, I have always wanted to tell the story of a Taiwanese theater director, Tian Qiyuan. In 1987, when he was 23 years old, he was the first person in Taiwan to be exposed of his HIV status on the media to the public. The opening scene of the movie is one of his plays. As the script move along, I sort of combine the two and also try to find out how much the social acceptance has progressed in the last 30 years, as well as Kevin representing a new generation who grew up in Taiwan's young democracy. What are the difficulties they are facing? That's mostly my idea for this movie.
Thank you. Uh, your style of shooting is really free. The camera is handheld. You're often in realistic settings. You take us into the market or to a hair salon, um, and it's almost like a documentary. And I'm wondering how you came upon this style and whether you wanted specifically to be in this, take us into the streets and workplaces in that almost documentary way for this story, or is that how you usually like to shoot your films?
Oh, well, I think every movie I try to consider what is the best way to tell the story. So after the basis of the story was decided, I wanted to portray a young teacher, his struggles and the situation he faces. And I wanted audience to go through his experience with him, to feel like he's a friend of yours. So it is then I think I decided to make a movie as close to the reality as possible in a sort of a documentary style. And also, I think in Chinese language movies, the Vehide style of storytelling is not seen very often. So that's how I decided to make the movie this way.
And particularly the situation of Kevin as a teacher, the writing of it and the situations in the school and in the classroom seem very much taken out of real life. So I'm wondering, were you or are you a teacher? How did you climb into the world of being a civics teacher so authentically?
Yes, I have been a teacher myself on and off when I'm not shooting a movie. Uh, but I did do a lot of research. I go back to Taiwan very so often, just do some field research. And the reason I choose teacher as the profession for the main character, Kevin, is that in Taiwan, a teacher has always been held to a high moral standard. For example, at the end of the movie, when Kevin did not accept the student's apology, that was deemed unacceptable by some Chinese audience. So I think it represents a very traditional, conservative part of a society that's still the mainstay in Taiwan from the authoritarian regime. And the environment that Kevin struggles in reflects the current struggle of democracy in Taiwan society.
Thank you. I want to turn to some of your amazing cast. Welcome again to Winnie and Oscar. Oscar, I'll start with you. Like Ming described with his shooting in the free camera style, your performance is very natural and very free. For example, the scenes in the classroom and in the marketplace, they seem almost improvised. So maybe you can tell us how closely scripted were you as playing Kevin, or were you in fact improvising in some of those scenes?
直接用中文打。对，对，我们的演出其实一句就是就差不多。我们的演出其实是照剧本的架构去走。Our performance based on the structure of the screenplay。然后导演不希望我们太依赖剧本，所以会给我们一些，就为了不要影响演出，所以会很多部分是即兴，但即兴之前是有彼此表演的动机。So Ming's hopes we can maintain the fluency of the performance instead of relying on the screenplay itself too much. But we have before the shooting we have some training on it. 然后基本上只要你认同自己的演出，那你的内心动机够强大，其实就可以帮助你即兴的效果。So actually Ming will also give us some description and scenario of the scene before the shooting, and once we into the character, it will also have the result of
That's fascinating, really. Maybe I'll ask you, Ming, since we just heard about this style of basically giving your actors the structure of a scene, but not the script. How did that work? What would you say? And I want to ask specifically to Oscar and Winnie about the scene between the two of them in the cafe, but maybe take a different scene. Let's say the market scene with the character of Kevin and his mother. How would you do that? You'd say you need to get here and here and here, and now go for it.
Well, who's
that's for Ming? Sorry, for Ming.
Yeah, but it's the mother and Kevin. Both of them, they already know about the story. So beforehand, I actually tell them what is gonna happen here. And when they are both in the character, they had this really nice relationship of mother and son relationship that was developing through the whole production situation. So for them, it's really just very easy to play the whole scene.
Great. Coming back now to Oscar, your character Kevin is really young, but he has real courage. He's out as a gay man at work and as a teacher, and he makes difficult decisions to confront his boyfriend about HIV. But you don't play him as a saint. So how did you, as an actor, come to understand Kevin's strength? Where did that come from? How did you play that?
好，就是因为凯文他很年轻嘛，他无所畏惧，他有勇气，就是一种初生之犊不畏虎的心情，所以使得他在生活上遇到了许多的磨难。那这个磨难其实是需要他付出代价。
So Kevin is quite young without suffering too much pain in his life. So maybe that's why he started this with so much bravery. It's also the bravery making him facing so many obstacles in his life, which is a price to be paid. I think that is where his strength from.
然后因为凯文他虽然这样牺牲那个代价，但是他从来没有后悔过。然后因为他觉得爱一个人再辛苦，这些痛苦都是一个成长必经的过程。
And for me, Kevin never regrets for what he chose in his life, even though falling in love is tough, but it is all necessary path for growing.
One more, thank you. One more question for Oscar. For your character Kevin's relationship with Gao is very complicated. What were the most difficult scenes to play with Gao?
哪一场戏是最难的？
就是直接跟他的床戏的部分，对，就是拍床戏的部分，因为需要就是比较裸露的部分，这方面比较会紧张。
关切。
I think the most difficult thing is the love scene with my co-star, because that part Oscar will need to be naked in front of the camera.
And because you as an actor are shy, or because of the character of Kevin being naked?
个人本身比较保守，然后加上我家人就是因为我爸不行，就反对我当演员嘛，所以对我来讲，他会觉得有必要吗？就等于说内在跟外在会有一些压力，对自己。
I think it's more on my personal side. For the character, it's more like brave and not shy at all. But for me, I'm very uneasy and strained privately. And actually, my family is also already against my pursuit of being an actor. So it would be tough for me to be naked in front of the camera.
Well, speaking for all of California, thank you for being naked. So, Winnie, you played the character of Wei, Gao's wife. What an amazing performance and character, I have to say. She could be seen as like the bad guy, the bad person. You even take a hammer to the apartment, but you play her very sympathetically, even when she's angry. So how did you sympathize emotionally with her, with her situation?
他的人生，这个角色，他的人生建构在别人的需求上面，所以他为了满足别人，他把自己缩得很小，去融入这一个家庭，然后完成别人的想法。
Okay, of course, her life is built on the requirement from people. She leaves little space for herself in order to compromise with her big family and fulfill others' desires.
他忽略了自己真正的渴求，然后，但是他仍旧把自己活得很优雅。很多华人的女性都是这样子，她出嫁之后就以丈夫为主，然后一辈子都为了成全丈夫跟小孩子。
She neglects what she truly desires, but still lives in elegancy like many Taiwanese women. After the marriage, the center of her life moves to her husband and family and lives a life of compromise. Yeah.
compromise. That's a good word for what she's trying to cope with. And Ming, since you're back on screen now, talk a little bit about how you wanted to portray her situation, because is that a situation that a lot of Taiwanese women face, or how did you understand the pressure that Gao's wife would feel to have children and to look respectable in her family's eyes?
Yeah, I think what I wanted to say with this character, it's a very traditional character in Asian culture, in Chinese culture, that has always been neglected and ignored, especially when there's a lot of gay men being forced to get married. And a lot of women were just being buried under this situation. It's a very it's a very difficult situation for them. So here's why I wanted to have a character to talk about it.
Thank you. Time to come back to our two leads, Winnie and Oscar. The scene between the two of you in the cafe is amazing, just powerful, raw. Tell us how you prepared for that. Did you have to shoot it several times? Because it feels, again, very, very almost improvised. So tell us a bit about how you prepared for that scene when you confront each other.
要说吗？
我先吗？
你要说吗？我说。
我们在演那一场戏的时候，导演给了我们彼此有一些动机。导演只问我一句话，他说：“你要如何在情敌面前理清你的存在，但是又不伤害对方。”
So before the shooting, Ming gave us the scenario and the description of the scene. However, he didn't want us to discuss too much on that scene. He told me a question which I keep in mind during the performing is how do you clarify your position in front of Love Rebel without hurting her?
然后导演没有要我马上回答这个问题，他一直让我把这个问题悬在心上，然后当我在演出的时候去感受对方的频率。
So during the shooting, I followed the tension and the emotion between us to perform, and that is what I keep in mind.
结果很奇妙，是演一演，我就发现我找到答案了，在那个演出过程中找到答案了，然后就觉得说，啊，你讲的太长。
So during the shooting, I think I find the answer to that questions.
原来虽然 Kevin 是一个很冲直撞的人，但是在面对这个爱情的时候，他也是会心软，然后发现那个心软的痛苦跟压抑，都是一个成长。
So although Kevin is straightforward and fearless toward everything, but he still hides his feeling and becomes soft-hearted at a key moment, like this scene.
And for Winnie, how was that scene for you?
事实上，在开拍之前，我完全不知道去那个咖啡厅要干嘛。
So before shooting, Winnie actually didn't know what she was going to do in that scene.
就是我不知道这一位就是我丈夫的情人，他为什么要约我去咖啡厅，我是完全不晓得的。
She had no idea why her husband's lover would invite her to the cafe.
对，所以为了保持这个陌生，然后以及不确定性，所以在拍摄之前，其实我们是没有说话的，甚至在整个电影拍摄期间，我们几乎都没什么在互动。
So Winnie said, so they didn't talk and meet each other before shooting the scene. They went out. They were not sure the necessity to meet and discuss in advance. So that's how they build this atmosphere for the scene.
Thank you. Jing, since you're there, may I ask you a question as the producer? This year and at Frameline, we have a spotlight on Taiwanese cinema, There's several interesting LGBTQ films coming from Taiwan now, and the marriage equality success from a couple of years ago is something that we all celebrate. But I'm wondering, is it difficult still to raise money for and to make films with a gay or lesbian subject matter in Taiwan, or are things changing now?
我觉得在台湾很多人会对台湾这个，或者说同志在台湾的状况是大部分是乐观在看待的。
He seen many people from all around the world are very pleased to see how Taiwan reach marriage equality.
但我想是说，当我们看到台湾的这个同婚的这个结果，其实它的过程其实并不容易。
The resource that we see for marriage equality is like very hard to get for Taiwanese people.
刚好这个电影在拍摄的3年中间啊，或者前年的时候，正好台湾经过一个公投的那个议题，在要不要通过同志婚姻这件事情的一个公投。
Okay, so during the 3-year shooting, there's a referendum that would decide if we will go through a specific law or into a civil law to reach marriage equality.
但是后来发现，很惊讶的是发现将近80%的人并不赞成同志婚姻。
Surprisingly, half of the Taiwanese people do not support marriage equality in Taiwan.
那我觉得当时这个结果其实让导演非常觉得挫折。
This outcome frustrated the director.
但是我觉得正好这个结果给了导演要拍完这个电影的一个最大的动力。
But this motivates the director to finish the film.
对，那我其实很想告诉很多观众的是说，其实我们所看到的就是觉得好像这些东西看起来在台湾看到这么多同志电影是理所当然的感觉。
I want to tell the audience, maybe you see all the Taiwanese LGBT films as granted.
但事实上，对很多的人，他真正的心里面来说，他的接受度还是有一定的限制。
But for the other people, they might still think, they might still do not support this kind of movie.
对，所以这就是为什么这样的电影存在是非常重要的。
So this is why this kind of movie is very important to film in Taiwan.
那尤其是这个电影，因为我们会看到电影中间有很多的部分是真实的呈现在这个，包括一些游行啊，是真实存在这个电影里面的。
So actually, you can see that in the movie we really shot the film like during the Taiwan Pride Parade, and
我一直觉得，我常跟导演讲，就是他要感到很骄傲，是因为这个过程，就是我们去通过台湾同婚法这个过程，正好完全在他电影中呈现出来。
So I used to tell the director that you should be proud that we put when we reach marriage equality, and this scene was involved in the movie, and the director should be proud of this.
Excellent. I understand that. And Ming, I want to also sort of congratulate you for taking your cameras directly into the Pride parades, the marriage equality protests. And just as we are coming close to the end of our time here, I do want to understand from you, was was that piece of it, shooting in the streets while these protests or marches or demonstrations were happening, was that something that you wanted to document to say this was a moment in Taiwanese history, or was that simply the most straightforward way to get the story that you're telling?
So we were very lucky while we were producing the movie and about to start the marriage equality thing in Taiwan. It's reached to a certain important point, and I think that's a very important thing since that's related to our movie. So I got my actor and my crew and say, we need to go out and shoot this. So that was part of sort of evolving as well as the shooting in the meantime. So that's very interesting that because of this, we recorded the marriage equality fight in Taiwan.
It's one of the things that gives us special kind of realism and gravity to the beautiful story that you've told. I can't thank you all enough for joining us here from different countries across many oceans and many miles. To the whole team, Ming Lang Chen, our writer-director, to Oscar and Winnie, congratulations on your performance. Gene Yao, producer, thank you again. And to Wayne and Albert, our fearless translators at Swallow Wings, on behalf of Frameline, I want to thank you all so much. And we hope to see you in person in San Francisco very soon on this movie or your next one. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.